Well, good morning, Gospel Life Church. I've got the weekly devotional for this morning. We've been reading in our church devotionals and from the pulpit on Sunday, Matthew chapter 22. And I just want to hone in on the first part of that passage, Matthew 22, starting in verse 34. Just read that first part, and then we'll talk about it a little bit this morning. So it's familiar passage talking about the greatest commandment. Jesus being questioned here again by the religious leaders. And so we'll pick up in verse 34. But when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together. And one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test him. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? And he said to him, You shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart and all of your soul and all of your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets. So hopefully when you read this passage or heard this passage, you thought about our values as a church. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Maybe that's already something you've forgotten about. We talked about that recently. It was discussed again at the shepherding forums recently. But our values are based off of the parallel passage in Mark 12. Just a side note about that passage. That passage has a little bit more after it. And that's one of the things I like about Mark's account of the interactions here with Jesus is the scribe that questions him. He says that that love is greater than all of the burnt offerings and the sacrifices. And then Jesus replies to him that he's not far from the kingdom of God. I think it's just an amazing statement coming from Jesus there for that scribe. And it gives a lot of hope to you. The Pharisees and the Sadducees and the religious leaders are all painted in this picture of being completely off base, and a lot of them obviously they were so much just caught up in the law and the rituals of the Jewish religion and culture, and completely had really removed God from that, at least in how they actually interacted. And you see that a lot when they interact with Jesus. But at least this particular scribe seemed to get it. At least he was starting to get it. But that reminds me of our values. Again, that's what our values are based off of as a church: loving God with all our heart and loving our neighbor as ourselves. So I want to focus just on one of those values this morning. When we look at the breakdown of loving the Lord our God, one of the things that we list under that is remembering the joy of our salvation. And we miss that a lot. In the day-to-day, we forget to think about the joy of our salvation. So I just wanted to encourage you in that this morning, to be thinking about that. On our value statement, we list a few very familiar verses when we talk about the joy of our salvation. So one is Psalm 51:12. You look at that psalm and you have David praying for this. Restore unto me the joy of my salvation. He understood that, and he understood when it was lacking in his life. Maybe that's the prayer that you need this morning. The other passage is the passage in 1 John 4:19. Why do we love? It's our motivation here. We love because he first loved us. And another why and another motivation for us is Ephesians 2:8, where by grace are we saved. And our salvation being a gift of God. I don't know about you, but even though I don't get a lot of gifts anymore, and I'm always reminded of just the joy of a gift when I look at my kids when they get something even small. Think about the great gift of our salvation and the joy that should bring us. So I just hope you can meditate on that today, be encouraged by that, just be able to think about the joy of our salvation. Have a great day.